Hey everybody, welcome back to Wild Horizons. My name is Barrett, and in today's video, you're going to learn how to cultivate your own flightless fruit flies. Alright everybody, well I definitely appreciate you clicking on this video today. Again, we are going to go over how to cultivate flightless fruit flies, and you're going to learn what items you will need to start with, how those items are actually used to start your cultivation, and we will go through kind of beginning to the end, and at the very end of this video you are going to see some of our dart frogs actually eating these flightless fruit flies. So make sure you stay tuned until the end. If you're new, drop a like down below, consider subscribing, it definitely helps out the channel. But first things first, let's start off with what items you will need to start cultivating your flightless fruit flies. Alright guys, so now that you have learned what today's video is going to be about, and now that you want to learn how to cultivate your own fruit flies, we are going to kind of go over first the two main types of fruit flies that you can get. So these are the most commonly found. You're going to have your melanogaster and you're going to have your Hydei. So your melanogaster, to start with, they're the smaller species of fruit flies, mainly flightless fruit flies, but they breed a lot faster. So there's two main differences between the two of them. One is size, one is rate of production. So your melanogasters, those are going to produce about every 15 days. So you're going to be able to get new cultures about every 15 days. On average for us, we've seen them about every 10 to 15 days. It all depends on the temperature of where you're housing these cultures. But again, I would say about every 10 to 15 days is what you're going to see in terms of a turnaround rate for these flies to be able to cultivate properly. So your Hydei, they are much bigger, well, slightly bigger than your melanogasters, but they're a slower breeder. So they take about, I would say, 28 days to fully reproduce that is. They have about a 3-week life cycle. So I would say if you have a larger species of like dart frogs, they can make a great option if you're doing a lot of turnaround. So for us, we do about 4 cups every week and a half. We have mainly the animals that we're feeding with these flightless fruit flies are our dart frogs. There are other species as well that eat flightless fruit flies, so there's many other uses and applications, but mainly what we're going to be doing is about 4 of these cups, and we're producing those about every week and a half. So the first thing item-wise we'll get into is the container that these guys are going to be kept in. So these are a 32-ounce container. You can get these off of Amazon. Again, links for all of this stuff, or most of the stuff, will be down below, so if you do want it, go check it out. It's not expensive to get. Again, I will get into the expense side of things in just a minute when we're talking about the initial culture, and if you don't do this, you're going to be spending on average about $13 to $15 every week, if not multiple times a week, depending on how many dart frogs you have. But these are what we use for our containers because they're disposable. So there's many other jars you can use. You can use mason jars, cups. I mean, I've seen people kind of do it all in all different kinds of containers, but with the containers, you do want to get a lid. So these lids are breathable. They have a mesh on top. You do want to make sure with the lids that you get, they don't just have holes that are exposed, because you don't want the first off larva getting out or the flightless fruit flies. So these have like a little mesh on the top of them here that don't allow those flightless fruit flies to get out. So we'll set these aside. Boom. And the next thing we'll get into is what you're going to want to get first. So, well, maybe not first. You may want to get these items first, but I like to get these first because sometimes when you get them from the store, they do take a little bit to actually produce some flies, because normally they're in larva form when you get them from the store. But these are our Hydeis. So you can see here, well, I don't know if you can see, but if it zooms in and focuses, they're about $13 roughly for a Hydei jar. So this is a culture of Hydei fruit fly. So this is what you're going to use as your base. So this is your starting point. So your initial investment is obviously all these items here that we're going to feature, plus the initial culture. So these are Hydei. Again, we use these because we do a lot of turnaround and production with our cultures. And we do this, again, about a week and a half on that kind of a weekly basis. So I recommend to do that. It just helps you keep up with things, and always make sure that you have enough for these little guys because they eat a lot. So we'll put this aside. Next thing we're going to talk about is the actual medium. So we use Repashy Superfly. So this stuff is really awesome. If you don't use this and you want to create your own, there's ways you can create your own medium. I'm not going to feature that in today's video. There's a couple other YouTube videos out there showing you how to do it. You can go on forums as well, but Repashy Superfly is awesome. We use this stuff because you don't have to use vinegar. You do want to use about a quarter cup when you're going to be mixing them into those 32-ounce containers. Again, depending on the size containers will vary how much of this you need to use, but for us and the 32-ounce, and if you're doing that from home, use the 32-ounce container. That is what you'll need, as well as a quarter cup measuring. So make sure you have these two things. The next item here that we're going to talk about is the actual stuff that's going to fill up the volume of that container. So this stuff is Excelsior. It is super messy, guys. So there's other things you can use other than this. I like to use this because it's cheap. It does create a really big mess though. It is messy, so just know that when you're using it. But we use this stuff. One bag, like this little bag here, will do about 2.5 to 3 cups. So they're like $5 a bag. So we're spending about $5 every other week, which is not bad at all. So I do recommend this stuff. The next thing that we're going to be wanting is some measuring cups. So this right here is some boiling hot water. I don't want to spill it because it's really hot, but we're going to use this to pour about a quarter cup of, well, really like 2/3 of a cup of water into these 32-ounce containers. So this has to be boiling hot water. It is really hot, so it has to be boiling for the medium to set properly. And we'll show you again kind of what that looks like here in just a minute. But the last thing you will need once you have all of this stuff is a spoon. So this spoon is actually going to be used once you pour the water into the medium in the base of your container to actually stir it around and make sure you get it all liquefied and good to go before you add your Excelsior and then again your flightless fruit flies. So this is all the items you will need. Again, we've gone over the two main types of flightless fruit flies that you're going to get depending on what kind of species of either frog or amphibian or other animal that you may have that you're feeding these to. I do recommend either the melanogaster or the Heidi. There are different subspecies of each. There's ones with wings, ones without wings. We use ones with wings. It really doesn't matter. They're all flightless, so they're not gonna, even if they do escape, they're not gonna fly around in your house and they will die off pretty quick. So let's get right into actually creating these cultures and we will see you there. Alright, so let's get right into setting these up. So we're going to create 4 cultures today. So we'll do 2 here and 2 here. And what you're going to need to start with is obviously however many cultures you want to do. And then you're going to need a couple tools. So the first thing is a quarter cup measuring. So this is going to be for your Repashy Superfly or whatever kind of medium you're going to be using in order to create the base or foundation for this culture. So again, we're going to be using a quarter cup. This we're going to go ahead and unscrew the lid here. And we are going to be scooping, again it doesn't have to be exact, but about a quarter cup into each one of these cultures. So we're pouring them in here. Again, link for this stuff will be down below if you do want it. Amazon sells it. Alright, get that. We'll put this out of the way. Screw this lid on here. So the next thing we're going to do is we'll set these aside for just a second. We'll put them right here. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to be measuring out some boiling water. So we're going to be using a quarter cup of our boiling hot water. So we'll go ahead and pour that in here. And this is per container. So we'll grab our first container here, put that in. Alright, once we've poured that in, we're going to go and give this a nice little stir. We'll actually add a tiny bit more water. Not too much though. We'll pour that in here. And with our spoon, we're just going to be mixing this stuff around. That went everywhere. we're gonna be mixing this stuff around. And y'all will see when you start producing this a lot, you know, what's needed. It's gonna kinda look watery to start with, but it does settle once the water has stopped boiling so hot. But we'll just mix that around. Push all this stuff down here. Alright. So that is good to start. We'll set this one out of the way. And then we'll do the next one. Whoa, almost spilled that. So we'll get our next cup. Again, pouring about a 1/4 cup. Do a little bit more. And we'll get into this one. And then we'll mix it up. So again, sometimes it's gonna be a little bit more liquidy. Again, it does settle though, so just give it some time. But you'll mix it around, make sure all the medium is thoroughly mixed. Make sure we get all that stuff off there. Perfect. We'll set this one out of the way. Get into the next one. Again, about a 1/4 cup. Alright. Put that into here. Alright. Mix this one up. Just want to make sure it's mixed up thoroughly so there's no like dry spots in it. That's the main thing. We'll add a little bit more water to this one as well. Not a ton though. Once you do this enough, again, you'll get a good feel for what kind of consistency you will need. But it's right about a 1/4 cup is what I've seen. So that looks good. Stuff is messy. Alright. Set that one out of the way, and we'll get into the last one here. Again, we make about 4 a week. And we have about, the main animals that eat this are 4 poison dart frogs. So if you have 2 poison dart frogs, I would probably recommend to make 2 of these a week. If you have 4, obviously I'd make about 4. So I don't know why I almost just poured that into here. We'll mix this up again. Alright. And again, guys, this must be boiling water. It has to be in order for it to work. Okay. And again, we'll add a tiny bit more water to this. Not a lot. Alright. We'll give that a good mix. So on average, guys, if I'm not recording, it usually takes me about 20 minutes from start to finish to make all of this. So it doesn't take that long, and it saves you quite a bit of money in the long run. So after we do all that, we'll just set that down there. We're gonna let these guys sit. Again, just kind of getting everything to the bottom there. We'll let these guys sit and cool off for about 15-20 minutes. We do want to put these lids on though, so you don't want your any other flies getting into this and obviously laying any kind of eggs or larvae inside. So we'll let this sit for about 15 minutes, and we will meet you back here when this stuff has cooled down a little bit, because you don't want to put your flightless fruit flies into this. It can sterilize them and or kill them. But we do want to make sure that we let this stuff cool down, and then we will put our excelsior in, and then we will put the culture that we initially got into here. So we will be right back. Alright guys, so it has been about 15 minutes. We are going to go ahead and take these lids off. We'll start one by one. We'll set these 3 to the side here. And the first thing we're going to do next is get some excelsior. So this is excelsior. It is super messy. So I do recommend that you do this at a place where you don't mind this stuff kind of getting everywhere, because it is not a clean product. So it is messy. So you just want to grab, say, about a handful or so. for each of these. So you just kind of shove it in there, push it into the medium a little bit. What this does again, guys, it just creates some kind of surface area for these flies to crawl around in. So take some of the scraps and fill it up. But I do like to push it into the medium, and the reason for that is because when you go like dump this and you're like knocking on it to get some of the flightless fruit flies out into the actual enclosure for the animal you're feeding, if you don't push this down into the medium, this stuff will like slide out, and then your flightless fruit flies are kind of going to go everywhere. So you do want to make sure you push it down into the medium here so it kind of sets, so it doesn't fall out as easy. You can see here it doesn't really fall out other than these little loose pieces. But we'll put this one aside for now. We'll put the lid back on it, and then I don't need to really repeat this for all four. It's the same thing, but we'll do it for the second one, and then for the last two, I'll do that off camera, and then we'll cut into us actually putting these flightless fruit flies into the medium, or into these jars, I guess. So we'll take some of this stuff here, we'll do that. We'll just take the rest of this and actually put it all into here. But let's cut when we have all four of these finished, and we'll be right back. Alright guys, so now that we have all four of these filled up with our excelsior as well as our medium, we've let it cool off for a little while now. Again, we are going to go ahead and take our initial culture, which we got from the store, and we're going to start putting about 30 to 50 flies in per container. So this allows it to breed, obviously, and create your culture for many future uses. So again, we'll take this. You can put these guys too, because they are pretty lively. You can put them in the fridge to kind of get them to slow down a little bit. I haven't, just for this demonstration, because I want you to see how lively these guys can really be. So we'll take this lid off, and then we will shake some of these guys in here. They are gonna get everywhere, holy cow. So it's inevitable, they're gonna get everywhere. It just happens. These guys are literally falling out like crazy. We will scoop them, holy moly. So we will scoop these guys into one of these little things, boop. Or we can just kill them and our flightless fruit, or our other guys will get them, but we'll kind of scoop them into here. Holy cow, they're getting everywhere. This was not how it was supposed to go. So, oh my goodness. I might stop recording and then pick this back up when I have all this cleaned up, because this is a lot. Alright, so we're back. So we put these guys in the fridge for a couple minutes. It definitely cooled off. So lesson learned, don't do it on camera and think you're cool and show people what it is, because it makes a giant mess. So yeah. Let's get into filling these last two up. So as you can see now, they're cooled off and they're not moving at all. Well, they're moving a little bit, but not nearly as much as they were before. So same thing again, we're gonna do about 50 or so flies. That's good. And as they start warming up here, what am I doing? This. Put that there. Put this aside, grab this, and then same thing, we'll knock about 50 of them into here. That's about 50. We will probably add a little bit more in this one, so we have a lot of flies. Okay, so, oh, this one's about to get up. Alright. They're warming up now already again. So, alright, now that we got those all filled up, the last thing that I like to do, and this just kind of finishes it off, again, I usually after I'm done feeding and cultivating all these, I'll kind of throw in as like a bonus treat to my dart frogs. I'll give them a bunch of them. So you can already see now, just after it being out of the fridge for a little bit, they're already starting to warm back up and move all around. We got an escape artist. So we'll throw him in here. Why not? Come here, little guy. Whoop. There you go. Alright, so the last thing I do is I grab my marker And I usually write the date on these, so it's good to know what dates you do it. That way you kind of expect and should understand when your culture is good and ready to be able to be populated into the next culture and repeat this process over and over again. So today is the 30th, so I'll write on the side 1-30, and I'll do it for all 4 of these. So 1-30, 1-30, and last but not least, 1-30. So again, we're gonna set these on our shelf. They're gonna sit for about 2 weeks. Usually ours are about 21 days or so. Sometimes they're a little bit before that though. We keep our house pretty warm. It's like mid 70s, lower 70s. So they usually are done in about 20 days or a little bit less. But we'll set these guys aside. We'll get into the outro here. I appreciate you tuning in today. Alright guys, well I appreciate you watching this whole video through. Again, if you're new, drop a like down below, consider subscribing. It definitely helps out the channel. Again, we are a newer YouTube channel. We're going to be doing a ton of new videos every week, so every Tuesday and every Friday around lunch, so usually around like noon Eastern to like 3 Eastern, we will be dropping a video. So if you enjoyed this content, learned something new, learned how to save yourself a bunch of money instead of going to the store every other week and paying about $13 for one of these little guys, do it yourself. It saves you a ton of money. It's super easy to do. I do again recommend putting them in the fridge prior to you actually dumping them in, because as you saw, it can be really messy. So if you enjoyed the content, stay subscribed, drop a like down below, drop a comment as well. I read all of them, but we will see you in the next one. Peace.